Jonathan Ayling joining me on the program. Jonathan, kia ora, Merry Christmas. Some reasons to celebrate at the Free Speech Union this week.
Yes, indeed. Yes, beyond goodwill to all men, we have some free speech to add to it as well. And
Yeah.
there's been a couple of things coming down the pike recently, and we've been able to get them across the line. And just before Christmas, announce some victories there. And many of your listeners, I hope, receive our updates and are aware of the broader work the Free Speech Union does. Issues around, for example, access to public venues. This is one of the issues that the Free Speech Union first set up around about 5 years ago, where we saw local councils increasingly not letting individuals or groups with provocative opinions. This might be groups like Let the Kids Be Kids, or people wanting to talk about issues like co-governance, not use public venues because they wanted to suppress the conversation that would occur around that. This is patently against the law, and we've been able to achieve some fantastic results there, not least of all in Taupo District Council. And while last week you and I were discussing about the fact we are suing Hutt City Council, thankfully Taupo District Council is more willing to respect ratepayers' dollars and the rights that their residents have, and we have been able to sit down with them and come to a really constructive conclusion. So about a year ago, Julian Batchelor wanted to hold an event there, was barred from using those facilities. I'll let your listeners decide whether Julian Batchelor's swimming in the shallow end of the swimming pool. That's beside the point. He has a right to make his case, and I don't think it's a good idea for governments to pick and choose which opinions we hear. Like with Candace Owens, again, who is now able to enter the country again, another success we've had recently. Whether you agree with these people or not, at a certain point, shutting them out actually only gives them a platform to spout their perspectives. Just let them have their say, and we can all go on with our lives.
Now, circling back to Taupo briefly, or Taupo, I should say. Of course, not only a victory for free speech there, but you've been invited to come and show them what free speech is all about. I mean, this is win-win there. Okay, our bad. Teach us how to be less bad next time. That's basically what they're saying, right?
Well, and I think we also have to give some credit to some of the leaders in these places, the deputy mayor in Taupo in particular, where he does believe in free speech, but faces pressure and opposition from otherwise would-be censors to exclude certain perspectives, and it's challenging when you've got a mob on one side and few people speaking up on the other. So that's what we're here to do, to speak in reasoned and civil tones, but with conviction and without reservation in terms of these basic freedoms. And so once we've come in on the other side, they say, great, what does it look like for a policy to be in place where we're not just seen to be picking and choosing the bigotry we want to stand up, that this is a principled defense of a basic freedom, and helping them articulate that's exactly what the Free Speech Union exists to do.
The other good news you mentioned, Candace Owens, the policy has been reversed. Now, is this a bit of a precedent on this one? Because you pushed the minister responsible, Christopher Penk, on this one. He's changed his mind, but there was a principle which says whatever the Aussies do, we will do. Does this change that policy, the decision that the minister has made?
So just to be clear, Chris Penk wasn't involved at all in the decision to block her. So he hasn't changed his mind per se, but there is a law in New Zealand that says not just Australia, but if any country excludes another individual, by default that occurs here, which is an utterly nonsensical law. I mean, the Iranians don't like Salman Rushdie, but that doesn't mean we should lock him out. And so I would suggest that act needs to be looked at. But no, it doesn't set a new precedent there. The standing rule is always that while that's what the law is, the minister can always offer special direction, which is what has occurred here. Which means, unfortunately, these things can be, they're picking and choosing where the law gets to apply. Sometimes there are other individuals who get excluded that have no problem then applying for New Zealand. So this is where we do see kind of the discretion can be abused at times. But thankfully, at the moment, in our Associate Minister for Immigration, we have someone who is dedicated to free speech and willing to use his discretion when needed.
The last one, and honestly, this doesn't sound like good news till right at the end. There was a guy who, he said some dumb things on Facebook. Look, free speech, but some of the stuff that he
I've
said
done
was
it
pretty...
before, Andrew. I'm not sure about you, but
Well,
a wayward tweet is one of my weaknesses.
No, I'm too dumb to figure out how to use social media. But anyway, this particular individual said some things. The police turned up at his house and says, "Don't like the way you're thinking, mate." And he said that they weren't allowed in. They came back, tried to force their way in. His children got upset. So they phoned Oranga Tamariki and said, "Oh, no, he's not a fit person to have a gun. He didn't even own a gun." This is
Exactly. It was one of these incredible experiences that we just thought, what would happen here if the Free Speech Union wasn't around? A man who exists under a lot of stress. And, we all have stress in our lives. This man has triplet 2-year-old daughters.
What?
I tell you what, I think he's got a premium on spare time.
Yeah.
And lets off some steam on Facebook every now and again. Police show up to check his thinking.
What?
It's incredible that this is happening in New Zealand. And he doesn't want them into the house. They don't have a warrant. Fair enough. They show up again and then refer him to Oranga Tamariki. To Oranga Tamariki's credit, they took one look at this file and said, "We have absolutely no reason to think this man is unfit." And he said, "Well, the reason my daughters were crying was because there were police trying to break into my house."
Exactly.
It kind of makes sense. The Free Speech Union offers both legal support and pastoral support. I think when people come after you because of your opinions, it can be incredibly stressful. And a lot of people are tempted to just sit down and shut up and hold their tongues because they don't want the fight. And what we come along and say is, no, actually, you have a right, you have a duty to continue to speak out, to have your say, and we want you to do that in a constructive way. And so that's what's happened here. The gun license authority, he doesn't own a gun, but he has a gun license. They've said, "No, we're not going to take away your gun license. You're not an individual who should be bullied out of this." And really, I think that's what it is. Across all the fights that the Free Speech Union has taken on this year, I would say we're up against bullies who don't want to contend with people because of their actions or because of the way they're living their lives. They want to shut them down because they disagree. And if we have become so shallow and immature in our society that we can't deal with the fact that others disagree with us, then the freedoms we take for granted now are going to be short-lived. That's why we've done the work we have this year.
It is ridiculous to take away a gun license from somebody that doesn't own a gun. Maybe for Christmas, somebody should buy him a gun rack for the guns that he doesn't own. The thing that disturbs me about this, and hey, 3 pieces of good news, not wanting to take the shine off it, but how did the police get his address? He posts something on Facebook, his address isn't on Facebook, they turn up at his door. I don't want to get all George Orwell on you, but that's a little bit creepy, isn't it?
I think it absolutely is. And I don't think anyone needs to think we're being conspiratorial or extreme here. Look at what is happening in countries like the United Kingdom right now. There is a meaningful shift that has occurred in terms of police culture that says it is our job to regulate the opinions and speech that people are putting out because these are indicators of future action. And to an extent, Andrew, that is correct. If people are talking about certain subjects, maybe there is something for police to be aware of. But you don't come alongside someone and say, "Hey, I'm here to check your thinking on this." And it all comes down to the distinction. Of course, we discussed this earlier in the year when police are being trained to recognize, record, and respond to hate speech. This is as subjective a term as you can get. And we see now that as certain opinions are out of favor, police come knocking on doors and frightening children. This isn't the right path for us to be heading down. Police need to stick to enforcing the law, not kind of this vague sense of safety that everyone thinks they're entitled to. It can be confronting when people disagree, but it's far better to disagree out in the open through speech than disagree subtly through far more demonstrable forms of expression.
Absolutely. Hey, good to have 3 reasons to celebrate as we head towards Christmas. I think that's popping at least 3 corks in celebration at the Free Speech Union. Jonathan, thanks for what you do. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.